This is Fly Tire Scott welcoming you back to part 2 of my video on the Thompson Vise and the thread clamp clip that I just got. I've got them already mounted. This mounted, I screwed it down and got it mounted to the table. In this kind of in a position that I like. You can pretty much have this wherever you want, depending on how you tie. But this vise is just a beast as far as holding, and I really like it. It'll when I'm done with the video, it'll probably go in my cabinet. I will maybe take it out for special occasions, but it's pretty rare, and I want to keep it this way. As I was talking about in the last video, part 1, I have it set up. I have a hook in here, and I have the thread coming down and tucked behind the rubber washer. I did put a half hitch in here, but I just wanted to kind of show that. And the way I have it set up, I was talking about the ergonomics of the lever. You know, the lever, if you just look at it, it's got this bend in it, and you think, well, that's cool, but, what purpose does that serve? Well, there is a purpose, and that purpose is to be a rest for your hand. So I'm going to come up just a little bit here. I don't need to see the bottom that much. Go over there. So as my hand rests in, now I can maneuver my materials wherever I want them. If I, want to work on, I'm going to do a woolly bugger maybe, and I want to put in some marabou, and I want to position that, my hand isn't sliding down. I have a rest for it. It makes just the comfortability level of daily fly tying improves. The thread clip itself is not designed and wasn't designed to be used with a bobbin. It was designed for non-bobbin use, either back before they had bobbins. I mean, clips been around for a long time, and at some point in time, I've seen it back as far as I can in some of the readings, as far as either people putting a button right to the table and wrapping around that or whatever. So this really, but you wouldn't want to be using a standard bobbin and then, moving your bobbin up every time. This was meant for, you would wrap something in, and in between wraps, you would push it down there and behind the rubber or leather, whichever one, and it would keep your thread taut and keep your material in. So that's what it is. Like I said, I've kind of cheated. I've put a half hitch on here. I'll start. Well, before I start tying, like I say, the adjustment for this is there's a. Let me take this off a minute and go up. This nut on the far side, this was to lock the screw in. The lever itself is threaded, so this bolt goes through and threads through, and then when you get it in position, you snug this up to lock it in. And this version is a cam lock, so it's got a little cam on it, opens and closes and tightens it down. So wherever you want it, you can tighten that down. It's mounted directly to the table here, like that. This one is mounted and, clamped underneath like that. That's the thread clip. So I'll put this back up. Hopefully I'm not making anybody nauseous moving the camera around like that, but that should be good. So that was a little hook that I had in there. In that same setup, if I take a great big hook like this, you can see now when I clamp it that this is way high. And maybe that's okay because maybe it's moving your fingers forward, but I don't like it that high, so I would move it down. If I take, the big brother here, let's I'll sneak this one in here if I can, so I can adjust that one and show you. This one a little bit different. Well, we're exactly the same. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying different, but this one here, if I was going to put this hook on, I'm going to turn this slightly here. Okay, so when this one's tight, now it's tight. Besides being ergonomic to keep a rest for my hand, for my fingers, it's also, you're keeping tension on it. Whoops, sorry for bouncing the camera, but with your hand there. So, part of the design is also to keep constant kind of pressure on it with your hand. Okay, so there's the two. This one I have set for. I'll put that hook back in, a little smaller hook. So there's my level. This one here right now is set for a bigger hook. Okay, so like I say, this is the Thompson F and the E, and they're basically from here up, they're exactly the same. It's just how they mount. Okay, so let's get rid of this one. I just got these two, so I do have to go and make me my labels, laser engrave some labels for them. This one, you can see it says cast iron. I do have a same version of this F in an aluminum lightweight version. I'm not really sure that the jaws are as strong as a cast iron, but it was a more portable being out of aluminum. So let's get back to the one I have, okay? So, the hook's down a little bit. I'm going to move the hook up. So, one of the other things I talk about maybe in a different video is the threads and bobbins. The old vintage bobbins, I have quite a few, were not designed for today's threads. They were designed for older threads that were a lot thicker. And when I started, I didn't have a bobbin. I started in 74 fly tying. I had a kit, and in that kit it had probably one of the least holding vices there was, and but that's what I learned on, and I learned through the little instructions in there that every time I got done with something, I would put a half hitch in. I wish I would have had something like this. That would have been kind of cool. But what I'll do is I'd take a bunch of thread and take a bunch off to pretty much I've got a full arm's length, whatever I could maneuver. And it really didn't matter how long it was, as long as it, wasn't too long. But I guess I don't know what too long is. Nowadays I tie with the scissor in my hand, so I'm gonna keep doing that. I gotta move a cord here for a second. There we go. So what I would do is I would take my thread, I would do my jam knot, and my hands are in place of a bobbin. So I just wind forward, wind back over, and work my way back. I'm a little slower than I used to be, and I would hold that tag end tight, and then you could move it forward and get to wherever you want. The bobbin is definitely speeds up fly time, speeds up accuracy, but you don't need it. I tied for the let's see, and now I want to talk, I want to do something, I want to position something, so I can just tuck this under and it'll stay tight. Okay, when I started tying, I started tying 74, I tied till 1986 without a bobbin. So 12 years of fly tying without a bobbin. I met my wife. She was working at a graphics place, and she was doing a flyer for Bob Mitchell's Fly Shop, and they had a fly tying class, and she brought that home, and I went to the fly tying class, and I learned what a bobbin was. I learned what a lot of things were, but I was pretty accomplished back then before that. So anyway, let's do that, and same thing, I'll get to the back. And I'm working around a camera. I'm not really at the right angle here. So when I learned to do a half hitch. Put it around, take my finger on, and I could now. And I really recommend, if you're a beginner tyer or teaching anybody beginners, teach them this half hitch. Don't worry about no whip finish at the end. That's like intermediate fly tying to me. You should be able to do a half hitch. You should be able to do it anywhere on your hook, and it'll help. But I can still put that on. Okay, so now we're going to do, I don't know if we're going to get done with this fly or not. I want to do a woolly bugger. I want it length. There, I can measure here. Okay, now same thing. We'll do a little help session too. If I tie this marabou in right here, I'm trying to maneuver this material all the way up. That's not how I tie. Let's get rid of that marabou. I advance my thread up to where I want my tie-in point to be, which is going to be right there. I'll put it down. I'm going to take the marabou. I'm going to figure out where it needs to be. I'm going to put it back. I'm going to advance my fingers here. And now, as I'm trying to work around the camera here, but now, as I tie back, I can put this under here. I can snip off this end, and I'm not working around material. But now I can kind of work my way back, and I don't need to be right next to each other there. And then come up, tie that in, because that's where my next material is going to be. I'm going to take some, by the way, that thread I'm using, let's see if I can get it in, is some Herder's 5M. Pure Island, some vintage thread also. So, I said I don't know if I should take the time to put a wire in here or not. That's going to take too long. Let's just get done with this fly. So, we're going to make a woolly bugger, right? So, I'm going to take some hackle, and I'm going to take the thread out, move it back a little bit to my tie-in point where I want it, slide that back. Okay, bring that forward, go under. That's what that thread clip was for. I don't have to put a half hitch in. Now I can grab my next material, get it ready, figure out where I want it, get that out of my way, take it off of there, take a wrap around, and come in. Now the one thing you'll notice if you're using this that happens is, depending on how you got to get used to grabbing it out. Because if you try and grab it out down here, now your hand's positioned down there. So it's a lot of either two-hand to get it out or that. And I got to be honest, I haven't used a lot of thread clips because I didn't learn with one. So I've got my thread positioned up here. I'm going to throw in a half hitch. Still tuck that under. Take and wrap my chenille body. Maybe get one more in there. Slide it off. Take a wrap around. Secure that in. Flip that over. Same thing. I can either tuck it in here, snip this out, get rid of that extra. Now I can wrap my hackle. And whether I counter wrap it or wrap it forward, generally I'd probably be wrapping it forward, and I'd be counter wrapping my rib if I had a rib in here. But I didn't want to take that much time. Okay. So now I got to get it off of there. Take my thread. I'm still two-handing it. Okay. Pull it back to trap it in. Start my head. Tuck it under. Clip the little extra out there. Okay. And grab my thread. Pull everything back. Create your nice little head here at your angle. Now do my half hitch. Do another half hitch. And if you want, you can whip finish. Snip that off. Whoops, I got some tucked under there. That's bad. Okay. There's just a simple woolly bugger kind of width off of that vise. And showing that technique of going down. So unclamp it. You know, if you needed to work on the bottom, you just flip it over. Whoop, what did I not? Oh, I forgot to, at some point in time, I forgot to trim my tag end here. So, silly me. But that's how, I didn't have a rotary vise. I think it was almost, let's see, I got a Regal in '86 when I took my first fly tying class. And so I think it was another 4 years, so I don't think I had a rotary vise for a long, long time. But you don't need one. I tied mainly panfish flies. And, you know, there's not a lot. You need that. So there you go. So that's the Thompson Model E vise. And hopefully I can do some more videos. Maybe compare that against the Thompson against the herders, or some things like that will work. One thing I've kind of been doing, I'll show you quick too, is as things fall down, I've kind of started getting away from my basket being right under here. As I'm clipping stuff off, I'll take and throw it to the side in a basket now. What I've found is as stuff drops down, you drop a hook in. You know, you're on your 10th fly and you go to put your hook in your vise and it falls down into your basket. Trying to find that hook in a basket isn't any good. Same thing with a bead and whatnot. I've got a little tray that I keep down on the floor so that if I drop stuff, maybe I got a bead or something like that. Whoop. Well, sure, then it hits that, but it'll drop in. It's something I'm working on. I started that after I lost my good pair of scissors, and I'm pretty sure that's where they went. They fell down in a basket, and I emptied the basket and didn't pay attention. And silly me, but they say, you know, I'll put something on here. I'll put a leg. I'll go to put a leg on there. You know, I do a lot of realistic stuff, and I go to put a leg on, and it'll fall down into my waste basket. Now trying to pull that, trying to find that. So I've got a tray on the floor to the droppings that, you know, most of the time I'm cutting something off, I'll have two hands on it, you know, and I'll just take and throw it sideways and get that motion. And that keeps my area underneath good, but kind of rambled on there, but I hope you enjoyed. This was part 2. So this is the Thompson E tabletop vise, the Thompson clamp thread clip, and I hope you liked it. Thank you very much.